Hello and welcome to another edition of the First Pitch Podcast on Pitcher List. My name is Trevor Hooth, and I appreciate you joining me today. Glad you can be here. Baseball to talk about always. That's what we like to do. That's why we're here. Let's see what's in the news. Denzel Clark is going to be promoted by the Athletics. This is one of what apparently, according to the report, could be a few different moves that they're planning to make in order to help right the ship. They're in the midst of, well, just losing quite a bit. So they're going to call up Denzel Clark, one of their top prospects, outfield, fantastic defender. I love this. I have been a Denzel Clark fan, Denzel Clark truth, or whatever you want to call it, for years now. I got to see him play in high A, and I'm a huge fan. Lots of speed. Again, great defender. That'll give him some runway to figure it out offensively. He actually has increased his batting average. He's hitting the ball a lot more than he has, and he cut his strikeout rate down. He'd been living with strikeout rates in the minors around 30%. Now he's closer to 20% at this point. So he's hitting the ball more. Hasn't shown a lot of power since doing that, but there's a lot of raw power in there. For fantasy purposes, though, you're betting on speed is what he's going to provide you more than anything else. That's assuming he hits consistently as he has been this year so far. But I love the move. The kind of player that makes things happen. I'm excited to have him in the majors. Should be really interesting. Again, Denzel Clark promoted. Absolutely love it. Ronald Acuna is expected to be activated today, Friday. He should be back. He was not in the Gwinnett lineup, which likely means the superstar is coming back. Not much to say there, man. He's a superstar. You love to see it. Love to have him back in and playing again. Aaron Savali was reinstated from the injured list for the Braves. Joel Payamps DFA'd. Savali gave up a pair of runs and struck out 3 in 4 innings in his return to action. So Brewers rotation starting to get a little bit healthier. Chase DeLander for the Rockies placed on the IL with forearm tightness. You never like to see forearm tightness, especially from one of the young, highly touted pitchers. Obviously, pitches for the Rockies. He hasn't really put together a whole lot so far, but there's talent in the arm. You never know. Hopefully, he can heal up and figure things out a little bit. But Chase DeLander going to be on the IL for at least a little bit with forearm tightness. Ronel Blanco also heading to the IL with elbow soreness. So a couple pitchers going to be on the shelf for just a little bit. While trying to figure out their first base situation, I feel like I talk about this all the time on this podcast. Red Sox need to figure something out. It seems like maybe eventually they want Christian Campbell to play first base. He was getting reps, but I've also seen it's going to be a while before we actually see that in a game. The Red Sox trade for Ryan Noda, if you recall him as a Rule 5 success story for Oakland a few years back. He was DFA'd recently. They traded cash for him, and they moved Masataka Yoshida to the 60-day IL. Noda will be on the 40-man roster. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be with the Red Sox, but at some point maybe could be getting some reps at first base. The Twins option Ryan Fitzgerald to AAA. They sent 27th man Mickey Gasper down as well. What this most likely means, at least the speculation that you can make, is that Carlos Correa is returning from his concussion IL stint after a collision with Byron Buxton. So, again, I haven't seen anything officially official, but with Fitzgerald going down, they're not keeping Gasper. It seems like Carlos Correa is probably coming back, which means in the next few days, Byron Buxton will likely be coming back too. If you recall, when they got put on the IL for the concussion IL, Correa went first the day before Buxton did. So I think they're probably at different parts of coming back from that. But if Correa's coming back, Buxton should be back soon as well. Speaking of exciting players returning, George Kirby made his season debut last night after starting the year on the IL. Did not go very well. 3.2 innings, 5 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, but obviously first start back, let him get his groove a little bit. Brian Wu was hit in the leg. There was some bruising. It's not expected to be significant. Bryce Miller, also, since we're talking Mariners, Bryce Miller's recovery is going well. There's belief he could avoid a rehab assignment and just return to the Mariners when ready. Things seem to be going okay for him. And then I saw a bunch of news that Ronnie Mauricio for the Mets was coming up. He had been hurt, exciting prospect for a long time. Had a decent debut. Was it last year? But as far as I can tell, there is no truth to that. So if you saw that and you thought Ronnie Mauricio was coming up, as far as I can tell, that is not true. He could come up soon. He's been catching fire a little bit lately, but it is not going to be right now. I believe that was some speculation just because he was not in the lineup in Syracuse. Maybe it was a late scratch, but again, far as I can tell, Ronnie Mauricio is still going to be playing in AAA, has not been called up. Looking at some highlights from yesterday's games, Jose Altuve with a 2-home run game. Matt Olson hit a double and a home run. He's hitting 250 with 11 home runs now for the Braves. MLB debut alert, Robert Hassel III, who was a big part of that Juan Soto trade that the Nationals made with the Padres. He went 2 for 5 in his debut and stole a base. He was hitting 288 with 4 home runs, 9 stolen bases in AAA. A guy once known as Bobby Barrels. He was supposed to be this big contact guy. He's had a really up and down career as a prospect. He was, I mean, it hasn't turned out this way, but he was supposed to be the best prospect that the Nationals got in return for Juan Soto, at least at the time of the trade. Obviously, he's been surpassed by, James Wood. And of course, they got Gore in that trade, and they got CJ Abrams in that trade. And even John Susana, who's in Double A right now. I believe he might be hurt, but in Double A right now, he's kind of surpassed Hassel as in terms of prospects. But Hassel made his MLB debut and got a couple of hits, stole a base. So we'll see what happens with him and how he can perform at the big league level. Jackson Chourio, he's been pretty cold this year. Following a 5-game hitless streak, he's, at least hitting a nice little bump here in his last 3 games. He is 5 for 13 and now has back-to-back 2-hit games. He had 2 hits in the game yesterday, including a double. So that's 4 hits in his last 2 games, maybe picking things up a little bit. I mean, hey, baseball's a game of streaks, 5-game hitless streak. Now it seems like he's seeing the ball a little bit better, which is always good, especially since if you have Jackson Chourio on your roster, like I do all over the place, you had to pay up a little bit. Christian Yelich, 2 home runs, but he is hitting 192 on the year, pair home runs for him. Again, the struggles you don't love to see, but had a good game yesterday. Spencer Horwitz has played 6 games since coming back from his injury. I know he's a guy that Process Plus loves, our thing over at Pitcher List, and he hit his first home run of the year in a 2-hit game. He's been hitting pretty well, it seems, in his first 6 games back, but obviously 6 games is a very small sample size that can bounce up and down. I was looking at his game logs. I think at one point he was hitting 300, and then it was like 182 because he went 0 for, but he's back up in the upper 200s now after this game where he again hit his first home run of the season and collected a couple hits. Angel Martinez with the Guardians, 2 home runs and added a double, so 3 hits on the day for him, hitting 289 on the year and 114 at bats. Taylor Ward had a 5 RBI game for the Angels. That was half the runs they scored. They put 10 runs up in yesterday's game, hit his 14th home run of the year, going 3 for 4 and adding a walk, so a good game for Taylor Ward. And you know what? Gavin Sheets for the Padres. I mean, the post-White Sox success is just absolutely continuing for him. 2 home runs in the game yesterday, up to 8 on the year and hitting 286. And he also had 5 RBIs. But it's amazing to see what Gavin Sheets is doing this year for San Diego. Few pitchers to talk about. Lance McCullers Jr. gave up a pair of earned runs, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts across 4 1/3 innings. He's had a couple decent starts after the clunker that he had a couple weeks ago. AJ Smith-Shawver had a tough outing. He's been on a good stretch as of late too. 7 earned runs, 1 strikeout over 3 innings against the Nationals, so not an ideal outing for the rookie. Tanner Bybee, however, for the Guardians threw a gem, 7 shutout innings with a walk and 8 strikeouts. Ranger Suarez struck out 6 in 6 2/3 innings. He did walk 3. And German Marquez put together a pretty decent outing for only the 4th time in 10 starts, Marquez has allowed less than 5 runs this year. He has been just getting hit hard or giving up runs all around this year in the game. Yesterday, 7 innings, 1 earned run, 5 strikeouts. So, arguably, his best outing. I think the only one rivaling it is when he, didn't give up a run in his very first outing. Do you remember? Oh my gosh. That seems like so long ago when the Rockies had the best pitching staff in, baseball, when they just weren't giving up runs at all. And anyway, distant memory. Marquez, good game yesterday, but has struggled all year. Nathan Eovaldi continuing his great season, gave up 1 earned run across 6 innings, struck out 6, walked 1. He is now boasting a 1.60 ERA with 71 strikeouts in 67 and a third innings on the year so far. Carlos Rodon went 6 shutout innings with 8 strikeouts for the Yankees, so a good game from him as well. Couple of relievers that are worth mentioning. Cade Smith for the Guardians, man. With all the Class A stuff that was happening early in the year, the rough outings he had, you just were never worried as a Guardians fan because if you need to put in a new closer, Cade Smith, right there. Don't have to look too hard. Cade Smith struck out the side in his outing, picked up his 10th hold, has a 2.82 ERA, and he has just been absolutely fantastic since joining the Guardians and being a professional MLB level reliever. He's just been amazing. Devin Williams, his struggle, speaking of struggling closers, they moved Devin Williams off of save opportunities, giving those to Luke Weaver, who did pick up a save last night. Devin Williams, though, in his holds era, kind of in a rhythm over his last 7 games. He has not allowed a run, 10 strikeouts, and 1 walk. So seems like getting out of the high leverage save opportunities. Devin Williams has kind of found a rhythm a little bit. So you'll wonder if maybe they'll start working him back in for some save ops or if they just keep him where it's at because it's working right now. Devin Williams, though, finding some success at least in his recent outings, which is something good to see, man. It was rough watching him go at it early in the year. Obviously, love to see him pitching well. With that, we're going to take a look at what is happening in today's pitching matchups, but we're going to do that in just a minute. Once again, my name is Trevor Hooth. I appreciate you joining me. This is the First Pitch Podcast on Pitcher List. And welcome back to the First Pitch Podcast on Pitcher List. My name is Trevor Hooth. We've talked about some news. We've talked about some highlights. And I just want to mention again, Denzel Clark is coming up. I'm so excited for that. I've been super high on him for way too long. I can't wait to see what he does in an MLB uniform. However, let's look at some pitching matchups coming up today. Landon Roop for the Giants going against the Nats. He's allowed 4 earned runs over his last 16 innings with 12 strikeouts. So definitely a guy that I'm looking at. He's been on a hot streak lately on the mound. You're going up against Mackenzie Gore on the other side of that matchup. What about Slade Ciccone making his second start of the year? He's not known to be a strikeout guy. Struck out 8 and 5 innings in his season debut last time out. So going to have to see what he does against the Tigers, who didn't look good in yesterday's game of the series. They got shut out, and I think maybe only had a handful of hits. It's 3 or 4 hits. So we'll see what Slade Ciccone does, and if the Tigers' offense can bounce back. Jackson Jobe going to be starting against him, looking to continue his winning ways. He's had a lot of success in terms of pitching and the team winning when he pitches. Clayton Kershaw to make his second start against the Mets. It's notable just because he's Clayton Kershaw, but definitely avoiding that one. He struck out 2, I think, in 4 innings in his debut outing. The Mets are a really good offense. Not a start that I'm interested in, but interested to see how Kershaw looks more than anything. I mean, is he going to bounce back more? Is he what we saw? Is what I'm trying to say. Is he what we saw the first time out? I guess we'll see. Facing off against Griffin Canning. Noah Cameron for the Royals. He's looked really good in his first starts of his MLB career, sporting a .71 ERA, entering a game against the Twins. Not sure how long it's going to last, but he's been very, very good in a Royals uniform. He's going to be facing off against Pablo Lopez. And then, of course, as of late, you have those teams that you're always interested in the pitchers pitching against them. Well, it's kind of been the O's as of late, and Brian Bello, Lucas Giolito slated to pitch against them in a doubleheader. So, just information for you there. And finally, the pitching matchup of the day should be a really fun one. Brewers versus Pirates. Freddie Peralta versus Paul Skeens. That's going to be a lot of fun all around. I feel like Paul Skeens always winds up in my matchup of the day, but there's a reason for that. He's Paul Skeens and shouldn't be traded from the Pirates. I know that's been the news lately is that he won't be, but the fact that it was ever thought of seems crazy to me. How do you trade Paul Skeens? You can't do it. You just can't. I don't care what you get back. I mean, especially if he's not, on the last year of his, before free agency and definitely not coming back, then maybe, but wild. Anyway, doesn't seem like he's going to get traded, and he's going to be on the mound against the Brewers, facing off against Freddie Peralta in a game that should be really fun to watch if you are a fan of pitching, as I am. So I will definitely have that on if possible. Should be a fun one. With that, I will see you guys tomorrow. I appreciate you joining me. This has been another edition of the First Pitch Podcast on Pitcher List.